Welcome to Mr. Brown's Basement, a channel devoted to sharing the craft of repairing, restoring, and modifying vintage electronic gear, and other random stuff.
Let's go back to late June 2000. I was replacing the light fixture in my bathroom. That fixture was a bare bulb hanging from a wire. Which bulb? The bulb on the right, a 300 watt E39 mogul base bulb.
What's your name?
They call me Mr. Big.
I bet they do.
The fixture I installed was a Home Depot 52-inch ceiling fan with light kit. I'd been content with this light fixture until recently when I gave it a really good hard look. It's just too big for a 10 by 12 bathroom. Besides, it looks antiquish, but not really antique, which is what belongs in a Victorian house. After some searching on Facebook Marketplace, I found some supremely ugly lamps, but I also found a suitable fixture in Hamilton, Ontario, and drove there to pick it up. It's a 5-light pan-style chandelier, likely from the 1930s, made by the CF company, with lots of patina and a healthy helping of dust and dirt. I haven't been able to find anything conclusive about the CF company or the date of manufacture, so if you know something about it, please leave it in the comments below. The Hydroelectric Power Commission started certifying electrical equipment in 1924, and the CESA changed its name to CSA in 1944, so this fixture must have been made somewhere within that range. Not in bad condition. It seems to have all its parts, and I'd like to rewire it. Now, this one was apparently rewired by somebody in the past, but with all really old light fixtures, you want to examine the wire to make sure the insulation isn't crispy and might cause a short circuit, a spark, perhaps even a fire. It also has to be cleaned up. There's plenty of dirt on it and what looks like drywall compound or paint. I'm not quite sure. This is what can happen to old wire. It becomes so brittle that any flexing at all causes the insulation to crack, exposing the electrical conductor inside. With many fixtures, there is a way to get them open. Something unscrews. In this case, the bottom finial unscrews. And that gives us access to the wire inside. I've removed the hardware, and now that's the innards. Now look at that, it's actually screwed together. That's impressive. There's screws around the edges here. No, you don't see that anymore. Okay, well this isn't a bad job of wiring. I don't know if it's correct, but it's going to be correct when I'm finished. These sockets are press fit, so you have to squeeze them together and they will come apart. So what you do is you wiggle it back and forth. This metal shell, which is only held in by friction, will come out. Inside there's a paper spacer. You don't want to lose that paper spacer. And if the paper spacer isn't there, or it's in really bad shape, you buy a new socket. And that reveals the internal parts. This is the shell. There's the button. You can tell this is old because this is porcelain. All new ones, let's say after maybe 1940, are Bakelite plastic. But this is an oldie. The bulb has two electrical contacts that make connection with the socket, the shell, and the button. The socket is connected to two wires that enter the light fixture. There are two possible ways to connect it. Both will work, but only one way is correct. The socket must be wired so that the shell is connected to the white or neutral wire and the button is connected to the black or live wire. The reasoning behind this is to make it more difficult to receive an electrical shock if you were to stick your finger into an empty electrical socket. I've undone the 2 screws for the wire, and there it is. They do not make them like this anymore. Originally it would have been wired with this wire, which is 16 gauge, but I'm going to be using 18 gauge, which is quite a bit thinner. That shouldn't be a problem because I'll never be using it with incandescent bulbs, which use 3 or 4 times the power of LEDs. I'll just be using LEDs. There's a silver colored screw and a brass screw on the socket, and 2 wires. It used to be that some of the wires were silver in color and others were copper in color, but with this wire, both are copper. But that's not a problem because they are marked with letters on one of the conductors. The one that has letters on it will be my neutral, or white, which will go to the silver screw. And the one with no writing on it at all, this one, will be my live, which will go to the brass screw. When you wrap the wire around the screw and tighten it, make sure it's going in the same direction as the screw tightens. Now that this is apart, I'm going to give it a good wash, though with nothing abrasive because I don't want to take off this finish. I might have to use a brush or something to remove whatever that looks like, maybe drywall compound, whatever it is, maybe primer. But gently clean it so that I retain as much of the patina as I can. This is the wet color versus the dry color after it's been cleaned, which leads me to believe that it's really badly corroded. What I could do is try using Armorall, which is basically wax, and that might bring out the wet color some more, which is really quite nice compared to that. I can't say that the Armorall made a huge difference, because it didn't, but it didn't hurt either, so I may try a little bit more and see if that helps. Otherwise, it is what it is. It will snap back together much more easily than when it came apart. Yeah, that reassuring click tells you it's there. Don't forget to tighten the set screw to prevent it from loosening. All 5 sockets are now rewired. This one here, obviously, needs to be painted. And the next thing is to connect these together. All the neutrals come together under one wire nut, and all the live wires come together under another wire nut. Here is a diagram showing how the sockets are wired together. The marrettes, or wire nuts, are put on. There's no way they can come off. One can optionally put some electrician's tape on top, though there really is no point except perhaps to label them live and neutral. The next thing I'm going to do before putting it back together is put a knot. A simple 8 knot would do, so that there's no way that at any point this can be pulled upon and perhaps unwind these. On this lighting fixture, the live and neutral need to come through the fixture through 2 different slots. The cord needs to be split where it comes through. The next thing is to decide how low this needs to hang. The room that it's going into has about a 9-foot ceiling, and with the mount that was on it before, I think it would be way too high. With bulbs hanging down, this is probably going to be about a foot to the very bottom. So I figure I'm probably going to need about 18 inches of chain, or thereabouts, which I'll attach right in there. And then it won't look like it's hugging the ceiling, which it's not supposed to do. It's a chandelier. Before putting up the new light fixture, or the new old light fixture, I've put up a ceiling medallion. This one is made out of styrene plastic and is affixed to the ceiling with PL construction adhesive. Now that I've thrown on a coat of paint, I can see how out of flat my ceiling is. That means that once the paint dries, I'll have to put on a bead of white silicone to cover that crack and make it look more seamless. I put on a narrow bead, and as they used to say with Brill cream,
Brill cream, a little dab will do ya. Brill cream, you look so debonair.
And there you have it. This lamp was not intended to be used with lampshades. That says to me that they were trying to highlight the shape of the fixture with the bulbs. To me they look like, or intended to symbolize, flowers. Anyway, let's turn on the light. Whoa, okay. I definitely like it with the tear-shaped bulbs. Much better than the spherical ones. Yeah, I really like that. Much better than the old fixture, much more appropriate. Someone has suggested to me that I put the socket collars on upside down and that they should be facing up rather than towards the bulb. I don't know. If you do, or if there is no right or wrong way to do it, please let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video from Mr. Brown's Basement. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Mr. Brown's Basement for more interesting and unusual videos.